Young Rippa59, Eric D. July, in an update that he had regarding ISOM #1 and what was going on with his deal with PayPal, which was, if you know, when this first launched and they made, I think he made like $3.7 million once it finally completed. Well, PayPal just took $1.2 million and we're like, psych, we're going to hold on to this for you and we're not going to give it to you. Well, he just got that money out of the account.
Of course, you're not going to see any of the media outlets, even like the supposedly based ones, covering this news.
Well, who are the supposedly based ones?
Being silenced. I mean, there's some like Bounding into Comics likes to cover stories like this.
Fox covered him like when the initial campaign. I think it's too small of a thing for like Fox News to cover, but like they covered the success of the overall campaign.
Yeah.
But you're not going to see CBR cover this. You're not going to see comicbook.com cover this.
Even the controversy about his money getting locked in the first place wasn't covered.
So basically it says, I'm going to read from the statement. He says, after many back and forths and an internal review, they stated that they would continue to have the reserve again with it started on July 27th. We'd long cut PayPal off by then. So essentially they just restarted the reserve. That's them holding on to the money, having it be effective weeks after. This was set on 60 days on a 60-day rolling period, with us set to get our first access to funds on the 61st day. Our legal team advised us to wait it out because it was going to be expensive to go after them in the way that we wanted. However, well over 60 days and we never got access. Once they were contacted about the legal pursuit they stealth released. I'm going to start this over again. He said, I think he meant to say they stealth released the money. He says, once they were contacted about the legal pursuit, the stealth released half the money. I think he meant to say they stealth released half the money. Mm-hmm. But they initially said 100% of the transactions. So we went back with them and I cussed out a bunch of, I'm not going to say that. That initial half I withdrew immediately. They basically thought that they were going to back out of their own word, reserve $600K, and move the goalpost to January on another rolling period after 90 days. They messaged us through the message center explaining this. Obviously, this was the final straw. We were told we'd be contacted in 16 hours. At the end of the day yesterday, we noticed another stealth edit, and the other half was released. This is like 2 months after all of this initially happened. And I had to explain to me, I was kind of giving Mary like a better understanding of just how corrupt the comic book industry is when it comes to crowdfunding and how much they hate anybody who does not go through the establishment. Similar to Kanye with his ability to be independent, is that I explained what happened. Anybody who in the chat who follows this stuff might know about what happened with Zach from Comics Matter, or at the time it was Diversity in Comics. He launched a crowdfunding campaign called Jawbreakers Lost Souls, which he initially was set up to produce through Antarctic Press. His YouTube channel had gained a lot of traction at that point. There was a lot of interest in getting this comic released. And then comic book artist Mark Waid, who really does not like Zach, interfered with the contract, and Zach eventually had to take him to court, and Antarctic Press backed out of the account, forcing Zach to go to crowdfunding. That initial crowdfunding campaign made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ethan Van Sciver has made millions of dollars through crowdfunding. All of this, if you were to look at mainstream comic book sites, you would have no clue that any of this was going on. And there's tons of other examples of far less controversial, but just as successful independent creators who get no play because they're not part of that mainstream comic book narrative. And this is a perfect example of they don't actually believe in anything that they spout, because this is a black creator who's doing his own thing, making his own comics. But if you run counter to their ideology, they will attack you with all of the vigor that they accuse everyone else of attacking people with. And it makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach to see the hypocrisy, the lack of ability to be, to live up to your own word and ideals. And to see like this dude have to wait 2 months. He has been incredibly transparent with every stage of releasing this comic. It's going out now. People are getting their copies. A lot of this, he took like a $20K loss on shipping fees because they have to figure out how to do this on their own. They obviously don't have large shipping contracts with any of these companies because he's an independent creator. And he's kind of that proof. Like, if you want to look at like what you have to do, like a Kanye West, if you want to actually create something and stand up to the establishment, you're going to have to be one of the strongest people in the world. And the worst part about that is you have to be one of the strongest people in the world while the people that attack you on the basis of saying that they're the strong ones and they're the brave ones. And that just makes me sick.
Yeah, I think more than just incompetence on the part of PayPal, or even this issue of censorship by debanking, which PayPal has been particularly bad about. This is more of a demoralization campaign.
Yes, absolutely.
It's meant to make him feel like giving up on his independent project, and encouraging also people looking at this situation to give up on their own ideas and self-censor. Getting people to self-censor is way more effective than any actual censorship efforts that they could put forth.
Especially when you're dealing with an amount of money that high and that much stuff that you have to fulfill. All they have to do is wait him out. Like, if he didn't have the guts to stick it through, all they do is wait him out until he cancels it and then just gives up.
And that money would be gone.
And they picked on the wrong dude, because he is like, you have to watch some of this dude's videos. If you watch, like, if they watched any of this dude's videos, they'd know that they were never going to win, because he was one of the most hard-headed, strong-willed people that you're ever going to talk to. And honestly, an inspiration for a lot of the people in these industries. Tim is another example of that. He's somebody who decided to go out on his own and build something himself, and to do it in the face of a bunch of people. And the part that makes me upset about it is, it would be one thing if these were two groups who had disparate ideologies, but it wasn't about their ideology. But it's the fact that the other group gets to claim that they're on some moral high ground while beating somebody down who's just trying to do his own thing based on the characteristics that they claim to champion. That's freaking disgusting, dude.
That was very well said.
Thank you. Thanks. He's been on IRL. It would be cool to get him out here, but he's like very busy. He's working 15-hour days, like 12 to 15 hours a day, because they're just packing up comics every day because they're shipping out a gazillion comics.
You have to do when you don't have institutional support.
Yeah.
And like using a parallel economy and, you know, being independent, it sounds easier than it is.
Yeah. And he said that, like, once they keep building, right, they'll build relationships with distributors. They'll build relationships with the people that are able to get this stuff out there. But that takes time, and it takes money and capital.
Yeah. Is this also being sold digitally or only physical copies?
I don't know. I believe that I only saw physical copies,
that's cool.
Like, the idea here is that they want to make physical copies, right? Like, digital comics are still are not as popular, but also they want to make the people that are really championing this movement. And like I said, I talk a little bit about it as somebody who, like, kind of sort of paid attention to comics enough in the 90s, like when he was a kid, to know the general idea of the movies and stuff, right? But I'm a normie. In every sense of the word, I'm a normie. These people have a deep love and passion for that industry that, like, I see a lot of this in skate. Like, there's a lot of people in the skating community that started making their own products because they had ideas about what they wanted to see out of an industry that wasn't creating those products. And I have a deep respect for people that are able to be passionate about something in its entirety and put their money where their mouth is. And that's what this dude has done. And to see a company like PayPal, a gazillion-dollar company that I'm sure has a diversity and equity and inclusion board and an HR department the size of that war in Game of Thrones or in Lord of the Rings.
Bloated marketing department,
in a bloated marketing department. Try to tear down one dude, it just proves to you kind of like what you're up against. Like, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and this is going to take a long time, and there's going to have to be a lot of people that are going to be very passionate about just sticking, it's as stupid as it sounds, sticking it to the man, because they are the establishment now.
And they took over a vacuum of power. It's going to take a lot more work on our part to have competitors to that, and not just that, but like uproot them. I think that this is a lesson to it's like a real life example to consumers that, like, firstly, you need to hold on to physical media, be it DVDs or cassettes or VHS or physical comic books. And it's also showing that you need to support those passion projects that are run by 1, 2 just a handful of people.
Yeah.
And then for creators, it's that
Own your IP.
you need to like have some fortitude and resilience to actually make it happen.
And like if you want to own your IP,
maybe boycott these companies before they betray you.
Yeah. Well, he said
before they even get the chance to try to hinder your project.
I wonder if he's part of Parallel Economy now. Like the company Parallel Economy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure he's regretting not using an alternative service from the very jump.
It probably wasn't. I think he
was
said,
already doing this before Parallel.
Yeah, he was doing this before Parallel Economy. And I think he said when they were launching this and they were getting everything ready, he was doing surveys for like with the people in his fan base saying, what is the payment processor you use the most? What one would be a deal breaker for you? So it was all data driven. Right. I'm sure it's like why he wanted to do that. There's no way he didn't know that there was going to be some type of pushback regarding this. So
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, this is from a more macro view, like how I look at this is, and maybe this is what you're saying, but I look at this and don't see it as like what we're up against. Like, man, look at what we're up against. But it's like, man, look at what is possible.
Yeah.
Like this is.
You take the more positive approach.
Yeah. Like I'm like, one guy is doing this.
Yeah.
One guy.
Yep.
I mean, it's a massive community, but one guy who's saying like, I'm going to like, okay, I see you and I raise you this, right? He's not leaving the table.
No.
And he's always been that way. Like I'm a huge fan of Eric July. Whatever he's done, he does this.
He's been making music for well over a decade or now.
Yeah,
like he was a successful.
YouTube himself onto the Blaze.
Yeah.
Like and Fox News and like however you feel about that, that's a big deal for one person to do through. You know, he is the best at what he does whenever he does it. And if you have that mentality, you are going to go the place you want to go. And there are people that the only reason that they haven't done something like this, there's a lot of people out there who are capable of very similar things. Yeah. It's not so much that he is special, which he is, but other people are capable of this, but it's just that they think that this is an insurmountable foe, and it is not.
It is one of those things where it's like, whether it's ideological or not, a lot of people would give up just by the amount of work that has to go into it.
True.
Like I'll use Tom McDonald as an example. Whether you like his music or not, he's successful, but he has to work 3 times as hard. Yeah. Like he literally posts videos of him. He's like a former carpenter. He builds his sets himself. Like he doesn't have a movie or like a recording company, a recording studio building his sets for him, fronting the money for that stuff. He has to do that on his own. Now he reaps the benefit of that. He reaps the reward of all that extra work. Yeah. But I think for a lot of people, if they have to choose, but he cares enough about being able to make his own stuff that putting in the extra work is worth it. The money is also a nice bonus, but most people aren't strong enough in their convictions that they'll want to work extra hard to have complete control over what they're making. They'll take the easier money and less creative freedom to be able to work with a studio that will be able to help them make their stuff, but also hinder their creative abilities, right? So he gives another example. He goes, another transparency update. He keeps giving all these updates about what's going on at the company. Negative $20,970 in net shipping revenue because of all of the trial and error they've had to do with figuring out contracts and carriers. Like, he's not doing this for short-term money. He's doing this to build a long-term project. And another example would be, I sent you guys the thing earlier about Ricada Law being banned from YouTube. Mm-hmm. He's another person who he got popular through legal analysis of like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. He did IRL. He's done like his own thing. You're going to be held back if you push back against any type of narrative. Like, I don't think we would ever be at risk for anything like that, but you
never know.
Yeah, like you never know, right? Like you could anger the wrong person on the wrong day, and enough people get involved, and your channel is suddenly being reviewed for something like that. And that's a terrifying thing to have to take under prospect, while also leveraging, like for like an Eric July, leveraging your own money and your own time, your own resources to build something just because you want to make a floppy comic. Like, imagine having that much passion about something. That's amazing. Yeah. Like, to have that much passion about something that you'll put everything that you've worked for over a decade on the line just to make something in counter to the narrative. Mm-hmm. It's wild. So
good for him.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.